Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in. This is Joe Caccera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series, sitting alongside Buddy and Bobby. And we are going to jump in and talk about 2016. We're going to revisit a little bit, and property as an asset class. We had 2017 for those that listened to it, and we ran out a little bit. We ran out of actually when we were doing 16, I'm sorry. Ran out of time. We had so much good stuff to talk about. So we will revisit that today on today's podcast. Before we get started, just a reminder for those that need any kind of real estate service help, support at all, be sure to contact Bobby at 650-346-5352, or you could go to bobbydecker.com. If you need any help on the financing side, I'm always here for you. If you have a purchase, a refinance, anything at all, or if you just need someone to talk to and consult with about financings, 408-838-9060, or you could go to reradiolive.com. All right, guys. So we got a lot to talk about here.
We do.
Another busy year.
It was a busy year.
Yeah.
A weird year. It was a very weird year, and it took on the weirdness of the political process.
Yeah, it did.
That's what it did.
It was morphed by that.
It was totally morphed by that. I mean, when it got real contentious, people stopped doing everything. That's amazing.
True.
People do much better when they're happy.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's true, and not to get too psychologically, maybe change the show's strategy. And
Joe and I have gone there a few times.
Yeah, we've gone there a couple of times. But isn't it amazing how? I mean, I what am I trying to say? I love passion. It's great when people have passion about something, but some of these people about their politics, you wonder, it's almost like it ruins their life.
I think
you know what I mean?
I think being able to just slam people on the internet has really caused a dynamic or dramatic shift in how people treat each other. And so, when it got real contentious, people got really anxious, so they didn't want to make a purchase. They didn't want to commit to anything, Joe, because they didn't know what was going to happen next.
Right.
And I think it needs to level down, trickle down, just get it a little quiet, and then you see that people are going to come back, because everybody wants a home.
Yeah, no,
it's
absolutely.
just when are you going to buy it?
Right.
And when you are just full of angst and anxiousness and anger, you're not going to do anything. You go into your little shell. I call it the clam shell. And a lot of my clients did that. And you know what? I let them stay in there. And all of a sudden, things have settled out a little now. And they're coming out of their little clams and going, I need a bigger clam.
Yeah. Well, but they also are seeing things that are going on,
right,
like increase in interest rates.
Interest rates, yeah.
Still shortages in inventory, and boy, what if some of the big things that seem to be in the offing here come to pass, and prices and rates and everything keeps going up?
Well, that's a good point, buddy. We talked about the anxiety of the election, and on top of that, the minute that was over, interest rates shot up big time, right?
Yeah,
the market went crazy. I guess that's the positive side of it. But yeah, we have interest rates are higher, and they're here to stay. And but here we are. As we wrap up 2016, there's still a lot to be grateful for and blessed for. And I would say, put the positive hat on.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I'm kind of happy. I didn't like selling property in multiple offer situations. I was really lucky, Joe, because I sold property for over 30 years. So my clients were the ones listing with me. So I didn't have to be a buyer's agent and all that anxiety.
It was very difficult in the multiple offer time.
Right.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And they were buying a pig in a poke. Because if you didn't do, I would have my sellers get an inspection, get a termite inspection, get a property inspection, so that if something was wrong with the fireplace and or maybe the roof needed to be, that the buyers knew that much.
Right.
Okay, how much it was going to cost, they probably wouldn't, but, they can go find out before they put in the offer. The anxiety of these poor buyers, now they're getting more discernible. They go, oh, no, it's got a cracked foundation. I think I'm just going to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Not, if I don't buy this house today, I'll never have a place to live in the Peninsula area.
Yeah.
But we still get back to the fact, no matter what you say, whatever the rates do, because we talked previously about 12% interest rates on mortgages, it's still a great asset class, and it should be part of your
portfolio.
Way to grow your wealth for new-time buyers, and part of your portfolio is someone who's already well off and has a good stock portfolio or bond portfolio, although you might not want to be in bonds right at the moment. So it's still an asset class. So we really have to talk about rent versus buy, Bobby.
Yep.
Let's get down into the rent versus buy. And I know there's some issues with down payments and property taxes, but give us some of your insider.
I want to bounce this to Joe.
Yeah,
what's
please.
the least amount down someone who has a job? Now let me qualify this, Joe.
So they're working.
Because we know what happened. We had gardeners buying $800,000 properties with no money down. So now that we're back, the pendulum has swung. What is the least amount they can put down if they qualify?
Well, if we're talking about the lease, there are still a couple of 100% financing programs, and thank God one of them is the VA program, because if anybody deserves 100%, it's our veterans, right?
Yes, our veterans.
So shout out to them for sure. And I would say that's the other thing where it reminds me we really need to do a show on that as well. In 2017, just all about our servicemen and women and what they do for the country, and maybe different ways we could help them in the real estate market and financing.
Absolutely.
That'd be a great thing
that'd
to
be
do.
a great show.
But to answer your question, so 100% for VA. We also have 100% for some programs. The unfortunate part in our area where it's a double-edged sword is that the 100% in some of these programs really only help people with incomes at a lower level, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But it's hard to find homes, as we all know, for less than $500,000 or $600,000 in some cases. You could do it. So we have that. Then we have FHA, 3.5% down. That would be kind of the next step up. We have a program called Home Ready, and that's 5% down, but it doesn't have the monthly mortgage insurance. So that's actually a pretty good program there.
And tell our listeners, how much does the monthly mortgage insurance increase their payment usually?
Well, it depends, of course. But monthly mortgage insurance for FHA, for instance, is 0.85%, so a little less than 1%. So, if you have a $400,000 loan, you're probably going to pay $270, $280 a month, something like that. That is a monthly mortgage insurance that guarantees the mortgage. And by the way, that goes to our government to guarantee that FHA mortgage. You can get rid of that after your home is at 78% loan to value or better. And so that's either done by an appraisal or at a time that you contact the bank. So mortgage insurance is not something you want unless you have to get it. Thank goodness, though, they have these programs for a low percent down. That comes with mortgage insurance. So that's FHA. Next one, you can get into homes at 10% down. Now, there's two ways to do that. You could do it with one loan, and there's mortgage insurance built in. So this is a little tricky. So what happens, you guys, there's loans that you're not paying a monthly mortgage insurance premium, but when you go to get that loan, it's one loan, and you put 10% down, and you're going to pay a higher interest rate, basically. So the cost of that program is you're paying higher rate. For instance, you might pay a 0.5% higher in interest rate because really the way, who's ever selling that mortgage is looking into it, it's more of a risk. So you're going to pay a higher interest rate. So in essence, you're paying a couple $100 or more potentially for a rate, but you don't have mortgage insurance.
You still got options.
Yeah. And then the next is 10% down. We see a fair amount of people now using 10% down. The nice thing about that is that you could do a first and second loan, and you don't need, and so you eliminate mortgage insurance that way. And then the good old-fashioned traditional way is if you have at least 20% down, then you have one loan and you avoid all those extra fees and costs.
And you can get it for 5-year fix, 10-year fix.
Yeah, so that's a good point. There's 5 year. So they're 5-1 arms. They're related to 7-1, 10-1. The 5, the 7, the 10 means they're fixed for that period of time. Mm-hmm. The 1 means that they convert to a 1-year adjustable at the end of that period. So if you have a 5-1 arm, at the end of 5 years, year 6, if you still have that loan, it would adjust to a 1-year. It would go to a 1-year adjustable, and it would adjust once a year. So that would depend on the market rate. And that's what I was talking about in another podcast earlier, is that I would be very careful if you're in an adjustable or you're a year or so out of adjustable getting ready to recast, because with the prime rate being raised by the Fed now and then again in the future in 2017, that adjustable interest rate is not going to be so popular.
And not popular because it's going to be an increase.
Yeah. Right.
And you don't want to panic when you've got 2 months left.
No. So, and then you have the traditional 30-year fixed, and I'll also say a lot of people in the last couple of years have converted to the 15-year. A month or so ago, before the crazy run-up with rates, the 15-year money was less than 3%.
Wow.
That was outstanding.
That had to make
Big difference. Big difference.
Particularly for shall we say, the middle-aged and young buyer, when the average stay in a home is 7 years.
Yeah. And I would, kind of wrap up and summarize the programs, you guys, as there's not one fits for all. A lot of people will convert and automatically go to the 30-year because they're just comfortable that way. But I'll challenge people most of the time and ask them why, in a good way, to get them thinking maybe an adjustable rate is good for them. Maybe, some people buy move-up houses. Some people know right away, hey, Joe, I'm not going to be in this house for more than 5 years. I just know it. Right?
Right.
And if that's the case, we should talk about a 5-1 or a 7-1 arm or something like that that's going to save them some money.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So those, in some cases, that's the case for sure. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. It is me alongside Buddy and Bobby. We're talking about revisiting 2016, the asset class and property that it is, and we'll be back with you to continue in just a couple of minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com.
Are you and your lifestyle fulfilled by the properties that you own? Do you need to rethink or look at different options, perhaps even in different places on the globe? Either locally or globally, you need competencies and commitments to achieve your goals most effectively. Bobbi Decker, working with her teammates in Sotheby's International Realty, with over 750 offices in 52 countries and territories, can help. Even here in the San Francisco Bay Area, if a property isn't what she or her team believes they can effectively market, they will find a high-quality Sotheby's agent that has the right expertise. For more information or assistance, contact Bobbi at 650-346-5352. Visit her website at www.bobbidecker.com or email bobby.decker@sotheby'srealty.com. That's bobby.decker@sotheby'srealty.com.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. I am sitting alongside Buddy and Bobby. Today we're talking about a review of 2016 and property as an asset class. We talked a little bit about rates, what was going on in the market, some data, read through to you. Before we continue once again, if you have any need for real estate, any knowledge, if you want to find out what's going on in the marketplace, certainly tune into these shows. But if it comes down to buying, selling, any kind of consultation on your real estate, be sure to contact Bobby at area code 650-346-5352, or you could go to bobbidecker.com. If you need any assistance on the financing side with your purchase or refinance, I could help you, and you could reach me at 408-838-9700. 9060, or you could always go to reradiolive.com. All right, Bobbi, back to you.
Well, just the interest rates that you were talking about, Joe, that 12 3/4 that I had when I bought my first house in San Carlos, that was just craziness. I mean, you have a $180,000 loan at 12 3/4, and the monthly payment's around $2,200. So now here, how high can you go, Joe, if you've got a 4%? I mean, that's a pretty big loan at $2,300 a month.
Yeah.
When you're backing into it. Would I be wrong around 7? I'm trying to do it in my head. I used to teach math, but I'm not getting this amortization chart in my head.
No, you're right. I mean, when you're talking about the 4% interest rates, even now, we're at low 4% on 30-year money. And historically speaking, it's still wonderful. What it means for a $500,000-$600,000 loan is, $150, $160 more dollars a month. As your loan amount goes higher, it's going to be more. But remember, again, to put things in perspective, the way I look at it too is when people start to, reminisce or go, God, I remember, and you have to understand what happened in the past, but you can't live in it. You have to move forward.
Right.
And so I always talk to people about, be lucky that you had that great rate, saved all that money. Oh, by the way, if you was a primary residence, you also had a great tax benefit.
Mm-hmm. You did.
Now it's time to move along.
And it appreciated. Guess what?
That's right.
Surprise, surprise. And the house that I'm talking about, it was actually 17% interest rate. The builder, it was brand new, and the builder bought down. Remember those buy downs to 12 3/4, and everybody was. I think I sold 10 of them. Yeah. I was in real estate, and so I got, for every one that I sold, I got a trip to Hawaii. Yeah. That was their incentive. I took everybody.
And I'll tell you real quick too, thinking about when we, back in the interest rates, put things in perspective. And this, I think we all should remind ourselves how fortunate most of us. And when I say we all of us, I would think, have something to be grateful for regardless. We all could want more, need more, have more. But I'm talking about, when I bought my first home, I was scared to death. I remember I was like, okay, go buy a broom and a mop. Mm-hmm. And I was worried about how much I was going to pay for it. And I didn't have living room furniture for a while because I was afraid to spend money because I now had a mortgage payment.
Right. But we all go through that. See, that's the funny part of it. Guys, everyone out there, all the millennials listening and everyone who's going, I'm just so scared. Everybody was. Yeah. It's the best thing we ever did. Mm-hmm. You can't hug a piece of stock. You can't go home and have your guys over for a couple of beers, right, Joe?
That's
or
true.
Play golf, practice your swing out in the backyard.
Well, I have a scared story.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Bobbi doesn't let me tell long stories, but, you brought up the subject of scared, okay, and we're trying to talk about...
We're starting early enough in this segment that Bud can go for his story.
And we've talked about rent versus buy, and this was a situation where I had a client that had an opportunity in the downturn to buy a lovely condominium for under $300,000. And she got scared because one of her friends told her that she couldn't afford it.
The lender said she could.
Yes, the lender said she could. Bobbi took her through all the numbers, but she was scared. She listened to her friend. So she let that foreclosure pass. Okay, she's still renting till this very day. And that property sold for $610,000 3 years ago. It's probably valued in the $800,000 range, that lovely penthouse and that lovely condominium complex. And this person is still renting. So don't be scared.
No.
And remember, you're dealing with an asset class that creates value of all kinds.
And the thing about lenders, I just adore them. Right, Joe? Mm-hmm. Not anyone but you.
As it should be.
Well, the pendulum has just swung so far to the craziness side. It was crazy when they gave people, they were giving loans to dead dogs. I mean, people would put those names on. No one was checking anything. So it was insane that people would actually be able to get loans. Now it's so horrible. I mean, the pain and the suffering. I give bags of M&Ms to my clients to keep their sugar level up when they have to deal with lenders because it's swung so far. So, guys, what I'm trying to say in a very roundabout way is if you're scared, don't worry about it. The lender's not going to give you the loan if you can't afford it.
Right.
Period. They might not give it to you if you can't afford it, right?
That's right.
Except for Joe.
Except for Joe.
Except for Joe. Yeah.
That's right. That's why we partner with Joe and why my clients love Joe. They send him Christmas cards
They do.
with their dog pictures on them.
They do.
Because they copy me.
That is very true. That is very true. And the thing that reminds me of that before, as you guys talk about, is that, and I let people know this all the time. I know these are emotional decisions, but at one point during the process, you really have to try, not necessarily take the emotion out because you can't tell people how to feel. But I always tell people, take a pen and pencil to the paper.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And
Critical.
then look, in other words, take a look at what you can and can't afford. Because those numbers don't lie. That's the beautiful part about taking the emotions, or just say, let's put our emotions in the back seat for a moment. Now let's sit down and figure out, what do we make? Where's our down payment coming? Can we afford this, right? And when you'll find that in the case that you told Buddy, I mean, you'll know if you could afford it or not. And then it becomes, are you comfortable with making that decision?
Yeah. Yeah, but don't let non-professionals scare you off.
Exactly.
I mean, that's really a critical message. You've got to listen to the professionals. That's why you need to talk to Bobby. You need to talk to Joe when it comes to what you want to do and how you'd like to do it so that you understand all the realities of this situation. And just don't say, well, my friend told me that I can't afford it. Well, your friend didn't know anything.
Yeah. Well, a couple of minutes ago I talked about when I bought my first home, but I will just say as we move along that you've heard us talk about this before. It'll sound repetitive, but I really mean it. That just take the first step. Whether you're young, single, thinking about a family, maybe not, whatever. Whenever you could make that first step, I know we're all advocates. Buy real estate. Mm-hmm. And, if you have to be on a budget for a while, God forbid, guess what? Smart people are on budgets, right?
You live within your means.
If it means you have to stop buying things for a while, or maybe not have the fancy car for a while, or I can give you stories about, I didn't take vacations for 5, 6, 7 years sometimes. And so what I'm saying is that whatever situation you're in, get in. And I know sometimes it's nervous and scary right from the start, but I know that we've talked about this before, you guys. Make that jump, and most of the time, if you're responsible in doing it, and you're a responsible person, you'll look back, and most of the time it'll work.
Yeah, totally.
And just like you said with your first house, I mean, you kept it, then you moved up.
Yep.
I mean, your family came, you moved up. Now you've got income producing property.
Right.
You've got the knowledge that you've got something there, almost like money in the bank, except money in the bank gets you what? 0.0003%. And your asset is growing. That's why it is an asset class. And Buddy laughs when I say you can't hug stocks and bonds, but it's true.
You can. It would look a little funny.
It doesn't give you comfort.
No, that's true.
Know?
Yeah.
You can't go hide from the crazy public in a stock.
No, and if you put it over your head in a rainstorm, it doesn't help that much.
That's right. Boy, you can tell we've been just working way too hard here.
Okay, Bobby. So you've got a little statistic though that we've talked about before, right? About the value.
Value.
The value, the 8% average.
Absolutely. I mean, the stock market takes you on crazy rides. It kills you emotionally and spiritually and mentally. But if you stay in a home long enough, not 2 years, Joe, not 6 years, maybe not even 8 years, but you stay there in the 20-year, over the last, I believe, what they said in the Wall Street Journal was 50 years, it's returned something like 8%.
Wow.
8% across,
yeah.
And they're of course they're
Good
probably
stuff.
talking about our area. Our area has been a little bit more, even with all its ups and downs. And guess what? If you could afford it when you bought it, you got to live in it, play in it, sleep in it, grow a family in it, have fun in it, and you didn't angst over it when you picked up the Wall Street Journal every day.
Right, and you had done some of the other information. That particular report just talked about how it stabilizes the family, how it builds neighborhoods, how the kids do better in school. The data just keeps going on and on and on about the value of owning an asset called real estate.
Right. And you can go to the garden if the world is making you a little bit insane. You go out to your garden and become the next
a glass of wine.
Oh,
here we go. We're dreaming again.
Love those gardens.
Yes, indeed.
Another program has whipped by, Joe.
I know. We're about ready to wrap up. And again, this is to remind those that why we do this real quickly as we finish up the show is that for you, the consumer, we provide you with education information. The show has really been, the objective has been since that day one, 6 years. I can't believe it's been 6 years plus now. And that we continue to get a lot of good feedback and information from consumers that this is here to help you make wise decisions in and around your real estate. And that's why we do this. We all enjoy it. We want to help you move along with your real estate career, right?
Yep. Absolutely. So go to those podcasts and write those reviews.
There you go.
And we'll just keep going another 6 years.
And remember, you're talking about an asset class, not just a home.
All right, we're going to have to duck out. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Joe Kuchera alongside Buddy and Bobby. Take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at reradiolive.com.